All right, I'm doing another normal episode where I'm going to talk about what I ate last week. But before I do that, I have a few thoughts, um, which I've written down, and I don't know if they're going to make sense to me anymore. But looking at food content online and watching other people eat food, it's such a popular genre on TikTok. Watching people order an absurd amount of food and eat it, or even just try new places. I think that watching them and watching them eat the food and hearing them describe the food is better than the actual experience. And just watching someone else crunch on something, it's more satisfying in a way than having the actual experience itself. And it makes me think about how oftentimes I'm more interested in the retelling of something or the story than the actual experience. Trixie and Katya, their podcast Bald and the Beautiful, they have a new series within their podcast where they're rewatching and talking about season 7 of Drag Race, the Drag Race season that they were both in together. And I don't think I've seen that season, but I almost don't need to. And I do think that it's much more enjoyable and much funnier to hear them describe the show. The description and the story and the retelling of the show without seeing it firsthand, or even if you have seen it firsthand, is funnier and really what I'm more interested in. And I don't know what that is. Maybe it's more interesting to me to hear a person's perspective of it. There is no real truth, or it's like, it makes me think of how facts exist, but everybody interprets those facts in a different way. So there is no stable truth or fact, like it means something different to everybody. Everybody's going to interpret it in a different way. So how does this relate back to food? Yeah, watching people eat food, I think, is more satisfying than eating the real thing. And I almost think, in a way, that's why Pride and Prejudice is such a popular story. This isn't exactly an exact parallel, but the not having the relationship. I mean, there's a reason why Pride and Prejudice ends when they get together, because then it's like, oh, you have it, so who cares? We don't want to hear that part of the story. It's the not having it and the anticipation or the imagination of what it could be that is the interesting part of the story and the enjoyable part of the story. And this, well, I'll tie it back to food. I've always been really, since I was little, intrigued by descriptions of food in literature. And I have a domain name, Food Descriptions. I don't use it anymore, but I own it. And at some point, I want to collect food descriptions in literature because I think they're so satisfying to listen to. It's almost like ASMR. Well, I'll give you an example from childhood. Bread and Jam for Francis. I don't know if you've read that book, but there is a scene where Albert, Francis's schoolmate, has lunch. Well, they're both eating lunch, but Albert has a superior lunch, and the book describes his lunch, and I'll just read it. When the bell rang for lunch, Frances sat down next to her friend Albert. "What do you have today?" said Frances. "I have a cream, cheese, cucumber, and tomato sandwich on rye bread," said Albert, "and a pickle to go with it, and a hard-boiled egg, and a little cardboard shaker of salt to go with that, and a thermos bottle of milk, and a bunch of grapes and a tangerine, and a cup of custard and a spoon to eat it with. What do you have? Frances opened her lunch. Bread and jam, she said, and milk. You're lucky, said Albert. That's just what you like. You don't need to trade now. And then there's a picture of Albert eating his lunch. So satisfying. I think there's also a book where Frances eats eggs all different ways. And I remember my grandmother making eggs all different ways just so I could try them like Frances did. Maybe that's a different book. Maybe that's a false memory. But anyway, I love a description of a lunch and or food in general. Lunch especially, maybe, because lunch is can be so diversified and borrow from dinner and breakfast and snack. There's another thing I wanted to talk about before we start. I was thinking about food delivery services like HelloFresh or Blue Apron. When I lived in Brooklyn with my dear friend Peter, we lived in an apartment with a roommate, a third roommate, and Peter had a Blue Apron subscription. So he got a bag of food delivered to our apartment every week, but he was always so busy, too busy to cook, and would never use any of it. We met through mutual friends, but we also happened to both work at Momofuku Milk Bar. And I left, but he stayed and sort of rose up the ranks and was extremely busy all the time, just simply could not cook. And so he would put the brown paper bag of Blue Apron individually wrapped foods in the fridge, and then he would get another one and he would stuff that in there too. And it got to the point where eventually they were all stuffed in the fridge and you couldn't put anything else in the fridge. It was just a wall of Blue Apron bags. And our third roommate, who I will not name, he drank maybe 1 to 2 gallons of milk a day. There were always gallons and gallons of milk in the fridge, in the trash, and recycling at all times. He also ate Kraft singles, a ton of Kraft singles. And I don't know if he ate anything else. So what he would do, and I understand the frustration with not being able to put anything else in the fridge. What he would do is he would punch holes through the Blue Apron bag, find the cheese in the Blue Apron bags, pull them out, and eat the cheese out of them. I don't know why I felt the need to share that, but that was the last time I lived with roommates. Okay, so August 4th, 2025, it was a Monday. 6:30 a.m., leftover coffee with half and half and a bowl of bran flakes with milk. 10 a.m., leftover stroganoff over fusillotti and smashed potatoes and a cup of coffee with half and half at the office. 2:30 p.m., a strawberry grain bar. 6:30 p.m., Niçoise salad with pinto gold tomatoes, green beans, fish wife tin tuna, hard-boiled eggs, Frodo pepper, romaine, Sicilian olive oil, red wine vinegar, and fried garlic made at home. 7 p.m., Bluebell homemade in the shade ice cream and 3 Utz extra dark sourdough pretzels. This is a pretty normal office day. You'll notice that I did anonymize my office, and I think I need to be a little bit more. I don't need to be telling people where I am at hours of the day, I don't think. This Niçoise salad was excellent. We have all these potatoes, we have all these green beans coming in, and I just thought Niçoise, unfortunately all our tomatoes are done. So I didn't have any tomatoes. Got this can of, or this tin of fishwife tuna at Christmas, and it was excellent. All our peppers are coming in too, so instead of tomato, I put in a big bell Frodo pepper. And I have some of that fried garlic that you can buy at the Asian grocery stores pre-fried, and they're crispy. This was excellent. When you have potatoes, it's wise to use up the smallest ones first. They go bad the soonest. So I took all the tiny little round potatoes and boiled them in salt. And I blanched the green beans. Blanched the green beans first and then took them out and then used that boiling water to do the potatoes. Yeah. The Pinto Gold potatoes are neat. They're both red and white. Um, they're a little bit waxy for my taste. August 5th, 2025. It was a Tuesday. 9 a.m. Brooklyn Lab coffee with half and half, and grilled cheddar with peppercorns on Sicilian olive oil toasted La Farm sourdough made at home. 1 p.m. Utz extra dark sourdough pretzels. 5 p.m. Chicken curry with leftover boiled pinto gold potatoes, green beans, and jasmine rice made at home. 6:30 p.m. Bluebell homemade in the shade ice cream. I will add that we grow two other kinds of potatoes, but they look so similar I can't really distinguish which is which. We grow a German butterball potato and Green Mountain, or I think it's called Green Mountain. Both excellent. I'm actually going to cook some tonight. So this chicken curry was great. Real simple. I think I used butter, a mix of butter and oil, put some mustard seeds in. Once they started just popping, I put in half of a diced white onion, white or yellow onion. I don't remember what it was. Brian's bringing home onions from work, and I don't know what variety they are exactly. I know that in Indian cooking, it's more typical to use red onion, but I usually don't have those around. And I never have ginger, so I always make these curries without ginger, but I still think they turn out great. Let the onion soften, and then about four to six cloves of garlic, roughly chopped. And I had some frozen tomato stock left over. Not stock, frozen tomato sauce left over. So I poured that in there. And well, before I did that, I also let the curry paste fry a little bit in the oil. And a couple green chilies. We have serranos coming in, so a couple of those diced up. I didn't want to cook the heat out of them too much, so I put them right in the end with the curry powder and let those melt. Then I pour the tomato sauce in, and the chicken. It was cut up chicken thighs that were cooking in no, they were whole deboned chicken thighs that were marinating in yogurt. Put those in, and I always like to finish with heavy cream. And a little bit of garam masala at the end. I have a huge jar of it that is probably expired. And I really love an overcooked green bean in a sauce, like a tomato sauce or a curry, a really nice soft green bean. I'm trying to think if there was anything else in the curry. I mean, I do like to add a little bit of MSG. I think I put like a teaspoon of sugar in this. I usually don't, but a little bit of MSG, a little bit of sugar. Sometimes I like to put in a little bit of vinegar to brighten it up, but I know that's not traditional. I mean, I'm not really following a traditional curry recipe, I guess. August 6th, 2025. It's a Wednesday. 6:30 a.m. Brooklyn Lab coffee with half and half and a bowl of bran flakes with blueberries and milk made at home. 10:30 a.m. 2 cups of coffee with half and half and leftover chicken curry over rice at the office. 5 p.m. A soft-boiled egg, Arnoldi Voltaleggio Capriolina, Clare milk truffle gouda, black pepper water crackers, a small slice of La Farm sourdough, and romaine lettuce with Igor Gorgonzola Dolce, marinated gigante beans, I guess, sun-dried tomato, marinated mushrooms, grilled green olives, Sicilian olive oil, and red wine vinegar made at home. This is another random Whole Foods cheese dinner. I tried to make hard-boiled eggs to go with this, but they were way too soft, so I just ate. And when I tried to peel them, I just put it in my mouth. Soft-boiled egg, it was under. The caprolina was really nice. It's like taleggio, but taleggio is cow and caprolina is goat. The Clare milk truffle gouda was nice. I couldn't tell, but one of them started to taste like diapers after a while, and I had to stop eating the cheese altogether. Just a strange diaper smell that actually some of my roses give. Some of the English David Austin roses that I have this diaper smell. Maybe it's a baby wipe smell. It's like some sort of like scent that's added to baby wipes or diapers. And I don't know. I don't know what it is. It might actually just be something bad that I'm smelling. Yeah. But, you know, I would give the Caprolina a go. Maybe I would do a Taleggio instead next time. Maybe something less diapery. August 7th, 2025. It was a Thursday. 9 a.m. Brooklyn Lab coffee with half and half and 2 soft-boiled eggs. 1 p.m. Utz extra dark sourdough pretzels. 5:30 p.m. Beef and lamb lahmacun meatballs in tomato sauce with succa pinacurat, green beans and leftover rice made at home, and a slice of crumb cake from Whole Foods. 6:30 p.m. A small bowl of Bluebell homemade in the shade ice cream. So I used to, okay, the lahmacun. I don't know how to pronounce it because it's from many different languages. I actually did take 4 semesters of Turkish in college, and because it's that Turkish pizza, a lot of Turkish words have the emphasis on the first syllable of the word, so I thought it was lahmacun, but I think it's lahmacun. Anyway, I'm sure I'm destroying this word, but it's the Turkish pizza where they make a flatbread and then they blend tomatoes and peppers and onion and spices, and then they mix it into the meat and they make like a meatball paste and they spread it onto the bread and cook it meat side down until the meat is seared, and then they put fresh vegetables in that and roll it up and eat it like a sandwich, or you can eat it flat, open face with vegetables on top. I did that a lot last summer when we had cucumbers and tomatoes coming in and a lot of garlic, and I would make a toum with all of our garlic, or a tzatziki or some sort of white sauce, and I would spice beef. I didn't do the whole mixture, adding the pureed vegetable mixture to the beef. I would just spice it with cumin and chili and fry that, and it was my favorite summer dinner to have, but I always thought I need to try it the real way where they puree the vegetables and put it into the meat. So I finally did that, but I didn't want to make a flatbread because I like to add yogurt to the flatbread. I mean, I could make up a million excuses, but really I had a whole quart of leftover rice, so I said we need to use that. I'm not going to make a flatbread. Um, so I had beef and lamb in my freezer, pound each that I needed to use up, and some frozen tomato sauce, which I blended with our peppers and onion, and I fried them off, and then I cooked them in more leftover tomato sauce. And I add the leftover blended. I pureed too many vegetables, and I actually added them into the sauce, which was nice. And it sort of reminded me of this Alison Roman dish that I made once. It was maybe pork meatballs and a cream sauce that was really nice, and the pork meatballs had a fair amount of dairy in them. They were super soft, and the sauce was maybe a little bit spiced and cream heavy, but tomato based. Um, yeah, so this sauce was nice. I finished it with a little bit of that coconut vinegar. Um, the my bottle reads Suka Pinot Curat. Of course, I have no idea how to actually pronounce that word or say it properly. Um, but it's a spiced, seasoned vinegar. And I put some green beans in there too, just to let them get nice and soft. And I had bought this little slice of crumb cake from Whole Foods the previous day, and because I was starving from just eating a little bit of leftover curry at 10:30 in the morning, and I forgot about it until I panicked, thought it would get hard, and slammed it after eating a bunch of meatballs, and then had ice cream afterwards. Like, I don't know why I did that, but it was a good piece of crumb cake for a grocery store. I don't know. Brian used to work at Whole Foods, and he always tells me, don't eat the baked goods at Whole Foods. It's all from, it's outsourced in a big kitchen, and they don't actually make anything there. But sometimes I like to, their stuff is enticing, I will say. It's hard to not buy stuff from the Whole Foods bakery. And they were sitting out, how they have individually wrapped pieces of cornbread by the soup station at Whole Foods? It was like that, but it was individually wrapped slices of crumb cake, sort of near the checkout, near the self-checkout at Whole Foods on the smoothie bar, on the abandoned smoothie bar. It was totally out of place, and it caught my eye, and yeah, it was a good slice of crumb cake. I don't know if I'd buy it again. Maybe if I was starving. Maybe if I had more cinnamon or some fruit in there. All right, August 8th, 2025. It was a Friday. 8:30 a.m. Brooklyn Lab coffee with half and half made at home. And Utz extra dark sourdough pretzels. 12 p.m. Leftover meatballs and green beans over rice. 6 p.m. Leftover meatballs with pappardelle made at home and half a can of Rodenbach Belgian sour ale. 7:30 p.m. A small bowl of Bluebell cookie cake flavored ice cream. Wow, after a long day of eating meatballs, I finished it off with some more ice cream. I got this Rumo brand pappardelle, the nested pappardelle. It was pretty good. It was nice and tender. And Bluebell has a new flavor of ice cream, cookie cake. It's a sweet cream flavored ice cream with vanilla and chocolate icing and cookie cake pieces. The ice cream base itself is fantastic. Usually that's the part of the ice cream that I try to get the least amount of, but the sweet cream flavor itself is wonderful. whenever Bluebell says that they have like an icing swirl in their ice cream, it's always a little bit disappointing and dry. It's not like when something says that there's icing in it, you want globs. You want that loose, you want ice, you want mounds of icing in there. And it's really just, it sort of dissolves away into the ice cream. There's not enough volume that it stands on its own. So that's always a little bit disappointing. But the cookie cake pieces themselves are actually good. I find that oftentimes in ice cream, especially their groom's cake flavor, or even in the Ben and Jerry's ice cream flavors, the actual cake or brownie pieces themselves are dry and chalky and strange and totally ruin the ice cream. This is not the case, in my opinion, for the cookie cake flavored ice cream. They do a good job. Bluebell also has a Christmas cookie flavored ice cream. I was worried about getting this one because their Christmas cookie flavor is disappointing. It has red and green icing that, again, is not great. And they have sugar cookie pieces. They have like three different flavored cookie pieces in there, and none of them are particularly enticing. I've never actually had a cookie cake. I've always wanted a cookie cake. I hear that it's a Southern thing. I don't know if that's true or not because I think it's just a mall thing. I think you got them at the mall. I've never had one. I would like to have one day. This is a good introduction to that, and it makes me think that I would like a cookie cake more. I mean, I think I would like a cookie cake because I like underbaked, soft, oil-based chocolate chip cookies. Sometimes Brian and I will walk around the mall for fun if we need to kill time, for some awful reason. I mean, every time I go to the mall, I'm like, what am I doing with my life? Because we never buy anything. We're just walking around. And I don't even know if they have the cookie cake stores there anymore, the Mrs. Fields or whatever. I mean, I can do more research and maybe I'll get one. August 9th, 2025. It was a Saturday. 9 a.m. Leftover coffee with half and half. 12:30 p.m. Spaghetti with meat sauce and Parmesan. Mixed greens with Olive Garden Italian dressing. Walnuts, sunflower seeds, and cranberries. Garlic bread. 2 glasses of Merlot. A cup of coffee with half and half. And a slice of lemon meringue pie at Brian's parents' house. 6 p.m. Half of a fried bologna sandwich with ketchup, lettuce, and tomato, a chicken tender, and vanilla soft serve with hot fudge at Lucky's Grill and Dairy Bar in Boynton, Virginia. Okay. So, I don't know if I've talked, or I don't know if I've read from an entry yet where we've gone over to Brian's parents' house and had a big meal. Maybe, hard to say. So about once a month, we go over to Brian's parents' house and people come over and we eat a lot of food. So usually I don't eat before that. As you can see, I just have coffee in the morning. It's always something different, but something expected. It's sort of a rotating menu. And we had someone still in high school over, so spaghetti was the choice, the crowd-friendly option for that. Usually we'll often have steaks, but I think spaghetti with meat sauce is, and the shaken Parmesan that comes out of the green can. Mixed greens, and then it seemed to be like a mixed nut and cranberry mix, like a snack mix that was poured over the salad. And then frozen garlic bread, which was wonderful. Or maybe it was Food Lion brand, like pre-prepped garlic bread, I'm not sure. But it was like highly processed garlic bread, which is some of the best garlic bread you can get. I had 2 glasses of pretty standard Merlot. I don't know. It wasn't Josh, but it was something like that. Also, did you notice that the last season of Top Chef was sponsored by Josh? wine, and they were constantly drinking Josh wine. That was shocking to me. Typically a cup of coffee afterwards, and there was this really big lemon meringue pie. Unfortunately, it was still frozen, so it didn't have that lovely creamy texture. It was like eating a popsicle. I don't know where it's from. It looked like Sam's Club or something. It had a really fat meringue on top that was hatched and charred nicely. Um, I mean, it could have been a Food Lion dessert, but I'm not actually familiar enough with Food Lion desserts. It seemed to me like, if I had to guess, maybe it was like a Wegmans or a Sam's Club. Sam's Club has really good chicken pot pies, by the way. So after dinner, Brian and I drove up to Carr Lake. Some people say Kerr Lake, but I think people on the south side of it say Carr. It's a hydroelectric lake, man-made. It's mostly operated by, I don't know what to call them, the Army Corps. What do you call them? Anyway, it's a pretty lake. I mean, it's a pretty fake lake. And it's so nice and quiet up there. And it's a lot of retirees and just, small houses and forests. And there's this little spot in a really quiet, it's tucked away in a little quiet corner. And it's called Lucky's Grill and Dairy Bar. It's super run down. It's just the perfect place to go after like a day on the water. I can imagine it being wonderful after a hot day on the boat or doing water sports or hiking. It's less enjoyable after eating a giant meal and then going to eat another giant meal. But I'd never been there, but I wanted to go. And on their Google, their photos on Google, they have the fried bologna sandwich. And so I got the fried bologna sandwich, it's super thick cut of bologna, super charred on all sides. I panicked because the girl asked me, what do you want on it? And I was like, what comes on it? And she said, nothing. So I was directionless and I didn't know what to order. I said ketchup when I meant to say mustard, lettuce and tomato. But it wasn't a bad order. I mean, I do love ketchup on hot dogs, and that's kind of what it is, a giant fried hot dog. I am a ketchup and hot dog person. But I think I would try maybe both ketchup and mustard next time. I don't know what to get on it. Cheese. That would have been good. Got a basket of chicken tenders. They have the crinkle cut fries. We didn't get those. The chicken tenders were okay. They were super thin and soft. They were good for what it was. And then I got a sundae, which was vanilla soft serve in a cup with hot fudge. But all of the hot fudge was at the bottom, which I guess makes sense for them. Like, I don't know. It was my first time eating it, so I was trying to portion out the hot fudge. I didn't realize how much hot fudge was at the bottom, so that by the time I got to the end of the ice cream, I just had a bunch of hot fudge left, and I should have portioned it out more appropriately. But I would definitely come back here. When we got there were a few families. There were a bunch of picnic tables out, and everybody knows each other. Everybody's talking to each other. It's a small community. The people standing behind me in line knew each other and were talking. They're like, that's my granddaughter working there. My granddaughter works here, telling everybody on earth that his granddaughter worked there. And they're cash only. It's fast. There were a bunch of boys who got in line while we're eating, and they were talking about the fish sandwich. Apparently the fish sandwich is good. I don't know. They were teenagers, so I don't know what their taste is, what's going on with them, but I think I would try that going back. We drove away Got a couple miles away, and Brian realized he left his phone on the picnic table we were at. We drove back, and it was sitting there. So I think that's, to me, a good sign. It's like, it just seemed like it was the place. And I don't, even the next day, Sunday, I was like, I want to recreate that experience. I want to go somewhere like that, but there is nowhere to go. So many of those old school places had to shut down. I mean, they've been shutting down for decades, but especially after COVID hit, it's like those places took a hit. There are a lot of old school places like that in Raleigh that just like little counters that serve hot dogs and what have you. And I really need to go to more of those and support them so that they don't keep shutting down. Brian found a list of an interview. Let me start over. So there's a restaurant in Raleigh called Stanberry. We've been a couple times. It's pretty good. They rotate their menu a lot. I don't know. I guess if you're visiting Raleigh and you want a place to eat, I guess I would recommend the Stanberry. Don't go out of your way, but it's like the place where when people are in town, we take them there. You have to wait in line. You have to get there early. But there was a chocolate and coffee shop next door to it. That was fine. I mean, it was nice to get like a coffee while you're waiting, lining up to get there. So the coffee shop, chocolate shop combo is no longer. The Stanberry is actually going to be taking it over and doing another concept in there. I don't know what it's going to be. But anyway, one of the guys from the Stanberry was interviewed about it, and Brian found another interview with him from enough years ago that it's no longer relevant, because he listed all his favorite spots to go in Raleigh, and most of them were closed at this point. And it was sad because of a lot of old school places. So yeah, I gotta frequent those spots. I'm trying to remember where we went. My sister and her friends, we went to a hockey game in Raleigh, a Hurricanes game, and then we went out to eat after. And it's a place, it's like an Ashley Christensen place. What's that? It's like a southern diner. And actually Tim Heidecker recommended it. I watch his Office Hours podcast every week, and he was in Raleigh at some point and recommended this place, so we took him there. Pools, Poole apostrophe S. They were in a really cool diner spot, but they actually moved Pools into their former pizza restaurant. They had a pizza restaurant, I guess it closed, and they moved the Pools diner into the pizza spot. So they have like a random brick oven in there. It doesn't make sense. Like, it's not a diner anymore. It's in this former pizza restaurant, and it totally lost the diner feel. But the food is good. I would definitely recommend it. She is known for Death and Taxes, I believe. That's her restaurant that you might know her for, which I've never been to. But Pools Diner, I would recommend it. Everything we ordered most of the menu, and everything was fantastic. Anyway, August 10th, 2025, it was a Sunday. 8 a.m. Broken Lab coffee with half and half made at home. 10 a.m. A pancake with Asian pear, Boone maple syrup, and butter made by Brian. 1 p.m. Marinated mushrooms and blue cheese stuffed green olives. 3:30 p.m. Frozen garlic chicken Alfredo pizza. 5:30 p.m. Tofu, green beans, cabbage, onion, and bell peppers in brown sauce over jasmine rice made at home. 7 p.m. A small bag of Bluebell cookie cake flavored ice cream. I wonder if my microphone is picking up my cat, who is snoring loudly next to me. He needs to get out of bed. I'm actually sitting in bed right now. let's see. Yeah, when it's been rainy, and when it's rainy like this, it's a little bit dark and my cats get confused and stay in bed all day because they think it's nighttime. Okay, so didn't eat breakfast till 10 a.m. because I think we both felt sick from eating so much food the previous day. Um, Brian brought home a bunch of produce from work, some delicata squash, and these Asian pears that look like kiwis. They're so anyway. We had these Asian pears, and he um, sliced them thin and seared them like tatatan style in a cast iron with butter, and then put them in pancakes. He made himself a stack. I just wanted one. I think if I eat a stack of pancakes in the morning, I feel sick. Like I always want sweet things for breakfast, like a donut or multiple donuts, but I can't. It just makes me feel sick and ruins my day. Um, and then, I had a bottle already open of Connecticut maple syrup that I should have used, but I forgot about it because I guess maple syrup, natural maple syrup, goes bad. And we had this bottle of maple syrup from Boone in Western North Carolina in our cabinet, and I opened it. So now we have two open bottles of maple syrup in our fridge. So for me, it's hard to use maple syrup. I guess I could use it in recipes. And butter. And you really need salted butter with your pancakes. I had to sprinkle salt on mine. Salted butter makes a pancake. Okay, so 1 p.m., we're just eating some leftover Olive Bar marinated mushrooms and olives and whatnot, trying to figure out if we were going to go on another trip and try and recreate our Lucky's experience. But I think we were just lucky and we realized we can't do this. Brian passed out on the couch from hunger, so I cooked a frozen pizza out of desperation and then started on dinner, had a very tiny bowl of tofu and green beans, and then packed away the rest for lunches for the week. And of course, I ended the night with a small bowl of ice cream. What do you expect? So that was a pretty good week. I think the highlights were Lucky's for sure. And probably the Niçoise salad. That was a good one. And actually, the Sunday night when I was prepping all the tofu and vegetables for the week, I also blanched green beans and boiled potatoes, so that I'd have them on, and eggs and boiled eggs, so that I would have them on hand for a quick niçoise during the week. Because I get home early enough that I can kind of do that, but they're not fully cooled enough for a salad at 6:30. And it's much easier to peel an egg when it's cooled and actually keep the white intact. So I just did some prep work on that. And anyway, that was my week. Thanks a lot for listening. Bye.